Welcome back to CBS News Election 2024. Good morning. It is 3:30 a.m. in the East, 12:30 in the West. We have been on the air for 9 hours straight covering this election, and it has been a very big night for Donald Trump and the Republican Party as the former president appears to be headed for re-election. He declared victory in the past hour in a speech to supporters in Florida. And in the race to 270 electoral votes, Trump's received 266. Kamala Harris has 218. We're just waiting for some more votes to come in before calling the remainder of these states. And we want to go behind the numbers to see how Trump put together this coalition. John Dickerson and his team have been looking at the exit polls. John?
I've picked out three things. There's a lot of things, and we'll have plenty of days to talk about them. But let's just start. We've talked about it before. Let's just talk about the gender gap, or really most specifically the vote for president among women. So the vice president got 54% of the vote, and Donald Trump got 44% of the vote. So Kamala Harris got 10 points more than Donald Trump, but Joe Biden got 15 points more. This is a post-Roe going away, post the conviction of Donald Trump.
It's almost inexplicable.
Well, it's going to require a lot of, there'd be a really interesting conversation because remember in 2020, the number of women who were turned off by Donald Trump. Yeah. Well, they have in some measure come back. He has done better with them. So that is, that's not just an area where the vice president didn't perform, but he performed better. And again, what were considered his liabilities that he didn't bother fixing, turns out they weren't liabilities. So again, it's an affirmation of his gut instincts, which will matter when he's in office, when he's going to be following those gut instincts and perhaps listening to no one else. Now let's look at the vote for president in white non-college. This is a group that we knew Donald Trump was going to win. He won it handily, 31 points better than Kamala Harris. This is the heart of the Trump coalition, the people he says his presidency will be aimed towards. He did as strongly with them, to use a Donald Trump word, as he needed to. So he turned out his. So Kamala Harris didn't turn out her important supporter. He turned out his. And then finally, Latino voters, because, and this is a stand-in really for the growth that
45%.
That exactly 45% for Donald Trump. He got 32% in 2020.
And I remember before that, George W. Bush had the high water mark at 40%.
Right. Yeah. And so this is a part, and Trump also did well with African Americans, better with African Americans than a Republican has done before, did particularly well with African American men. This is a part of that new coalition that we're talking about, and that emerged out of his victory tonight, and that it's not just his victory, it's the Senate candidates, House candidates. That's when people talk about a realignment. This is the beginning. These are some of the elements of that realignment.
Yeah, Ed, what makes up that realignment in the Republican Party?
Well, we had been told over the last several months that in order to win the White House again, Democrats would have to hit 60% among Latinos. So they clearly weren't able to do that. And as Leslie was saying earlier, as we've seen in these exit polls, it's economic concerns. These people don't want to be talked to anymore as minorities. They want to be talked to as Americans who worry about the bottom line. And who are concerned about their jobs, concerned about their kids' future. And I remember a guy I met in Phoenix who runs a hot dog stand. We had him on the evening news, who said all sorts of things about how he didn't like former President Trump's rhetoric, but then turned around and said, "But I don't know if I can vote for her."
One of the things
he did. He said that all these years Democrats have asked for my vote and said they were going to work on immigration and work on improving my life, and I don't believe that it's happened. I tried contacting Aureliano today to figure out who he voted for. He hasn't told us, but I suspect it was Donald Trump.
If you talk to many fervent Trump supporters, one thing that they will say, in addition to liking his economic policies and some of his bravado or machismo, whatever you want to call it, they've also said that what they don't like are the quote-unquote woke policies of the Democratic Party.
Yep.
How much does that play into it?
It's good. If you look at all this, the fact that they couldn't win women, the fact that they couldn't hold on to their Latino coalition, there's going to be a big reckoning about whether or not there was too much discussion about that over the last several years. Yes.
I know. So, Ed, what is a lesson, do you think, for the Democratic Party from what happened in 2016 to what is happening today in 2024? I mean, what are the lessons here?
Well, they were identity politics.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say, Kamala Harris really shifted the way that she campaigned for Latinos, to target Latinos.
Yeah, no, it just struck me in the minute, forgive me, is just as soon as I said that, I had forgotten that if you look at how much money the Republicans spent on that issue about transgender.
Yes. Although,
did that weigh with women or non-college educated?
Was that with Latinos? They did one of the few ads they did in Spanish language was on this issue, and that sells.
Although
and it ran during football a lot, right?
Football.
Although as bad as Harris's numbers are in other areas, when the exit polls asked, are Kamala Harris's views too extreme, only 46% said yes, 51 no. For Trump, the extreme question, 55 said yes, 43 no. The thing is, for Trump, there are a lot of people for whom some of his voters, I haven't seen the crosstabs, who would say, well, extreme is fine. Being too extreme is fine. Can I just say one other thing, one other dog that didn't bark? Republicans for Harris. Kamala Harris spent a lot of time, campaigned a lot with Liz Cheney. Only 5% of Republicans in the exit polls voted for Harris. It was 6% for Biden in 2020. All of those Republicans that were going to come over to the Harris campaign.
She brought them all to Pennsylvania. They were in Bucks County, weren't they? They were all on stage with her.
I was there.
I remember that.
But I think the Liz
Bucks County. And look, you got to understand about the people the traditional Republican in Bucks County. I grew up watching these people. Is that they vote with their wallet. They are economically driven. They have business jobs at suburban office parks in Princeton, New Jersey. They go to New York City on New Jersey Transit every day or down to Philadelphia.
Bring bagels back for the weekend.
Everything
Saying all of this
toasted with
I
cream
know.
cheese, maybe a pork roll and cheese. These are people who care about the Eagles and care about their financial interests, and they care about their communities, but they are Republicans. And they're Republicans because they want to pay lower taxes, and they move to Bucks County, not to Philadelphia, the city, or not to New York, because they want to have a good standard of living and they want to pay lower taxes. They want to not have to spend a lot of money.
So Bob, where was that secret women Republican vote we kept hearing about? That they're going to say one thing to their friends and their spouses, but they're going to get in the booth and they're going to make another decision.
What happened to
them?
I never saw it.
Yeah.
I never saw it.
You never thought that was the thing.
Well, it didn't. That's why.
You never thought it was a thing.
That's why Harris
Not that I
is
didn't
so
think it
small.
was a thing. I never saw it.
That's why Harris only won women with by 10 points.
Yeah. It's going to be one of the
Bob,
biggest miscalculations. She could have been spending time on this. Somebody pointed out today, there are 9 HBCUs in North Carolina. Do you know how many of them she visited? 1. Imagine if she'd been spending time doing that instead of hanging out with Liz Cheney in the Midwest. Could have been a different story tonight. And there are going to be all sorts of conversations about that. Should she have doubled down on the base and not worried about fighting Republican women?
But I don't even know that they could tell you what the base is tonight, Ed.
Right.
Clearly.
I think if the strategy was to double down on the base and you pulled the, Sochin from Harris's campaign, they could not tell you who that base is right now.